everybody doing this evening?
Welcome to Rivalry
Week on the FILA Sports Podcast.
That's the Forever I Love Atlanta Sports Podcast. Coming to you on our Wednesday show. Always talking college football on Wednesdays. It's your boy, Coach Mario, and the genius who puts all this together, the Don. What's going on, man?
How you doing this evening, Coach? How everybody doing out there tonight? Glad y'all can join us for another edition of Rivalry Week. This week we're going to preview the Georgia Tech versus Temple game that is happening this Saturday. If you're new to the channel, you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this content out with other Atlanta sports fanatics and Georgia college fanatics. When I mean by Georgia college, I'm talking about every college in Georgia. We ain't just talking about UGA, Georgia Tech. We talking about Georgia Southern, Georgia State, Valdosta State, Kennesaw State, Fort Valley, the AU, West Georgia. You know, do I need to keep going? And also hit us up in the comment section. As always,
come holla.
It's your hometown sports podcast. We have a special guest with us tonight, John DiCarlo, I believe. I'm sorry if I butchered your last name.
It's John DiCarlo. It's cool, man. Don't worry about it.
John DiCarlo. I'm not good with names, even though my name is horrible too. So, but yes, John DiCarlo, he's joining us tonight. Introduce yourself for us.
So I cover Temple for the Yahoo Sports Network for a website called owlscoop.com. So we cover Temple football, Temple basketball, and recruiting. And now Jeff Collins is back in town after being in Philly for the past couple of years. So it'll be interesting.
Yes, it's going to be an interesting show, you know, and it's going to be an interesting game as well. I know a lot of people, you know, they pretty much, well, a lot of Temple people calling this the revenge game because I guess we took their coach from them. And a lot of Tech people saying, well, you know, we just trying to get a win. Really, that's all we really cared about, just winning the football game.
Well, technically, he was at Tech before he was at Temple, but
yeah,
who's counting?
Yeah, it's one of the places where he got his career started. Yep.
With O'Leary, back in the heyday, back when they were good.
Yeah.
All right. So you ready to run down the scores, Don?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get that out of the way.
All right, let's get started, man. We'll run down the scores from last week and let you know who they're taking on this week. Then we'll get into some Georgia Tech and Temple talk. Last week, UGA had Notre Dame. They got it done 23-17. There's a bye this week down in Athens. Georgia State was at home. Well, I'm sorry, Georgia State had a bye. Georgia Southern had a bye last week. They'll be at home versus Louisiana Lafayette. Saturday, 6 p.m., Paulson Stadium down in Georgia Southern. Georgia State last week took it on the chin, lost in overtime to Texas State, 34-37. Saturday, they will be playing at home, Arkansas State, 3:30 ESPN Plus. And I'm sorry, you can also catch Georgia Southern on ESPN Plus as well. Kennesaw State had a win versus Missouri State, 35-24. Saturday, they're taking on Reinhardt, 6 p.m. Come on, Kennesaw State. Stop with the Reinhardts. Come on, man. Play somebody. I mean, Kennesaw State, man, I'm sorry. I'm quit complaining about Kennesaw State every week. Valdosta State won versus West Alabama. That was a conference game. That was one of the toughest games on the schedule. They won 44. I got 28 here. I think it was 44-27. Saturday, they take on Shorter College up in Rome, Georgia. That's Saturday at 6 p.m. So everybody up in northwest Georgia, Rome is, right? Yeah, Rome is northwest Georgia. Go check that one out. Morehouse had a bye last week. Saturday, they take on Savannah State, 2 p.m. at BT Harvey Stadium. That is on Westview Drive, Southwest Atlanta, downtown. Morehouse and Savannah State. Fellas, go check that one out, 2 p.m. I'm telling you. And then while you're down there, walk across the street and you'll be at Clark, Atlanta. They lost to Central State last week, 26-19. Saturday, they have Albany State at home at 2 p.m. So it's going to be a good time down in the AU. We have Albany State.
Go on at the same time. So I guess you can catch one half at one and then catch the second half at the other. So we already know everybody go down there and just watch the band. So.
Hey, I'm just going to say you got Clark, Albany State, Morehouse, and Savannah State, and one campus. It's gonna be a good downtime down there. And fellas, if you're going with your wife, wear shades. That's all I'm saying.
Not only that though, man, this would have been a good weekend for us to go down there and just hang out. But I'm too old, man.
For real. Yeah. I'm actually pretty free Saturday, and I went to Morehouse. That's my alum, not my alma mater. I couldn't even remember what to say. I'm like, no, I'm an alumni. That's the alma mater. Woo. Guess it's time I go
Well,
back.
you are alumni if you graduated from there. But listen, man, you need to go down there, wear the FILA shirt, wear the FILA sports shirt, hand out the cards, and tell folks to subscribe to the channel.
Hey, I just might take my son down there to hang out. He might change his college choice.
Nah, he gonna go to Akron, man. Send him to Akron, man. But just go out there and promote, man.
Yeah, no, I was just joking, man. Yeah. All right. And that brings us to Saturday. We're talking Georgia Tech versus Temple. A lot of people who you're going to be surprised once you find out the line. If you don't know the line for the game already, I know you guys thinking that Georgia Tech, a Power 5 playing Temple, are supposed to beat them, right? Not so fast, my friend. Temple, they play in the AAC, the American Athletic Conference. And this year they have wins over Bucknell and Maryland and a loss to Buffalo. And notable players from Georgia on Temple roster are quarterback Josh Jones, redshirt junior from Westlake. I remember Josh Jones from Westlake. And Jacoby Sharp, a freshman DN from Lanier High School. All right. And that brings us to the topic tonight. John, thanks for joining us again.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
And the main thing, if people don't know, Tech's head coach, Jeff Collins, first-year head coach, he was the head coach at Temple last year. Mm-hmm. And so Temple, that means you guys have a first-year coach this year, Coach Carey. How has the transition been from Coach Collins to Coach Carey? What are the major differences, if any, between the two regimes and philosophies?
I think the biggest difference is, and I'll preface this by saying I like Jeff a lot. Like Jeff, Dave Patnode, Andrew Thacker, got to know those guys pretty well. But Rod Carey is a little less gimmicky than Jeff. Jeff is very into, and I guess he has to be, the brandings, like social media stuff like that. Loves that. He's very into that. Practices were lively. I mean, he had leprechauns at practice at one point, and people were like, "What's going on?" In the spring game last year, guys that had performed well enough in the classroom had their Twitter handles on the back of their jerseys, and he was proud of that. Rod's a little bit more. I mean, he's a Midwestern guy. He played at Indiana, had spent the last 6 years as the head coach at Northern Illinois. A little bit more of like a meat and potatoes type of guy. The practices are still fairly lively. There's music there. The guys are into it, but Rod's a little bit more, okay, let's get down to business. A little less. I mean, he's on social media, not as much as Jeff. I'd say that's one of the main differences. I think he's just, not that the tech staff isn't focused, and I think it'll take a little while for them to get things turned around, but I think they eventually will. But I think that's the biggest difference. Jeff really, really, his weekly Tuesday press conferences were sometimes 25 minutes, a half hour. He'd have like an 8-minute, 10-minute opening statement. He'd talk about the scout team players of the week, the awards that you didn't even think they had over the week. And Rod starts with kind of a brief opening statement and just gets right to it. But he's a little bit more forthright with injuries. A couple years ago, or even just different stuff. Like a couple years ago, Temple opened up at Notre Dame, and Jeff Collins said, "You might see all three quarterbacks play. You'll see when we get there." And I'm thinking to myself, this posturing is not going to help you, because they didn't have the roster at the time to beat Notre Dame. And Josh Adams ran all over them, and Brandon Wimbush did. And so that's probably the main difference there. But, these players in the program are used to transition. Matt Rule was their coach not long ago. He left to go down to Baylor. Jeff Collins, who's a friend of Matt Rule's, succeeds him coming up from being the defensive coordinator at Florida. And so these guys, I think they've adopted this mentality of like, hey, Temple's the mentality we have. No matter who our coach is, we're going to go out there and play hard. So there's some differences there, but still a lot of talent on the roster, and they're definitely looking forward to Saturday's game.
Yeah, I know Coach Carey. He was kind of the I ain't gonna say architect for NIU. I remember the head coach that was there. He left to go coach at North Carolina,
Yep.
And Kerry was left there because he had to coach in that orange. I believe it was in the Orange Bowl, and they got beat.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
against Florida State.
Against Florida State. Yep. Because I remember Devontae Freeman and all them was still there, and
Yep.
Jalen Ramsey. But yeah, Kerry, I think he'd be a good coach for you guys. I said the problem. I think the only issue y'all would probably run against would probably be the recruiting. That's it. But y'all beat Maryland. That's huge. I don't even think my team right now. My team. Look, I'm a Tech supporter. I am, but right now I don't even think Michigan has a chance against Maryland. To be honest with you, and we play in the same conference, so.
Yeah, I mean, Temple's beaten Maryland two years in a row now. They went down last year on the road and beat them down there when they started off 0-2, and then they beat them this year when they were ranked. Now, Temple obviously went up to Buffalo last weekend and played a terrible game. 4 turnovers. They had a bad snap on a punt. The players will never admit to this. I think they were kind of feeling themselves a little bit. They might have been looking ahead to this game. I think they'll be a lot more focused heading into Saturday, but beating or playing against Power 5 teams, I think generally speaking, you guys are down in college football country down there. I think you're in the ACC. I think there's just a general, I don't know, people aren't as familiar with the American, but it's still a good league. I mean, Temple has almost twice as many players in the NFL right now as Georgia Tech has. I mean, they've been a really good program. I think that line is a little. I'm not a big betting guy. What is it, 9.5 right now, the point spread? So I don't know. I think it'll be a closer game, but if Temple does what it's supposed to do, what it can do, and eradicate some of the mistakes they made last week, I think they'll win this game. I think they have the talent to win the game. I think Jeff and that staff, I think they'll get things turned around. But you guys are familiar with the program. They're completely changing over that offense. They're completely changing over a scheme where, they had been recruiting guys to play in the triple option, right, or the wishbone. So I think it'll take them a little bit of time. If I'm Temple, I'm concerned about Tech's secondary. I'm not as concerned about their offense. The quarterback situation is interesting. You got to prepare for a couple guys, but I think it'll be a fun game to cover just because of the subplot of Jeff coming back. And the players can say all they want. Oh, we worry about us. We worry about us, and they have to. And I think they're going to have to stay focused on that. But it'll be a fun atmosphere.
Okay, and for y'all to beat Maryland two years in a row, y'all should go ahead and create a rivalry because Maryland's not that far from Temple,
right?
So,
well, I'll make 3 things about the general college Southern football fan, John. They don't know where Temple is.
Nope.
They think Temple is only a basketball school. And they be surprised to find out Temple is favored to win this football game.
Well, Temple's actually been a little bit more of a football school recently. They've gone to the NCAA tournament. They haven't so much. They're not exactly performing at the level of what they did years ago with John Chaney. Now Aaron McKee's the head coach, a former Sixer, played with Allen Iverson. But it's actually one of the better college football turnaround stories in America. Back in 2004, 2005, Temple's Board of Trustees almost voted to drop the program entirely. And it passed by 1 vote. And then they brought in Al Golden. Al Golden revived the program. When Al Golden took over, they were the worst program in America. It was either Temple or Buffalo. You could take your pick. Yeah. And Temple they were lucky to out-recruit Villanova or UMass. That's the level that they were recruiting at. And slowly but surely got them turned around. In 2009, they played in the Eagle Bank Bowl in D.C. against UCLA. And they started going to some bowl games and won a bowl game and started sending guys to the NFL again. So, I mean, this is a pro sports town through and through. Everybody right now is concerned about what the Eagles are going to do tomorrow night against Aaron Rodgers and, if Deshaun Jackson is ever going to come back healthy again and stuff like that. But people have gotten more interested in college football and Temple. So, they've sent a lot of guys to the NFL. They had 3 guys drafted in the last draft. So, they're not recruiting at an Alabama level. They're not recruiting at an LSU level, but they have out-recruited Penn State on occasion. They've out-recruited Pitt on occasion. They are out-recruiting Maryland and some ACC programs on several occasions. So they're starting to recruit at a higher level. But, Jeff Collins would say it when he was at Temple. This is a developmental program. I think every program is a developmental program. You got to bring in guys, a lot of them redshirt, even at places like Alabama. But, yeah, they've got a lot of talent. Again, if it's pound for pound on Saturday, Temple should win the game. Anthony Russo, their quarterback, has to play well. He's got an NFL arm. He's been known to throw some interceptions. He's got to play better than he did last week. The most interesting thing will be what Jeff Collins knows about the Temple roster. He's known these guys for 2 years. He recruited some of them, not all of them, but he knows their tendencies. But Temple staff has also had 2 years worth of film to watch to see what Jeff and Dave Patno and Andrew Thacker did last year. So again, if I'm Temple, I'm not as concerned. Those quarterbacks can make some plays. They can, but the Tech's offense hasn't been good. And that's, I think, kind of what people would expect in this transition. But defensively, Rod Carey talked about this week. They've got a good secondary. They've got, their safeties are in the 6'1", 6'2", 215, 220 range. They've got guys that can make plays back there. But if they execute the way they are capable of, I think they'll win.
Certainly, Tech's we hadn't been able to throw the ball down the field. So the offense has been pretty much run dimensional because there's no vertical passing game or right. Everything is sticks, everything is a comeback. So the offense is certainly a work in progress. But you said something interesting, talking about, that you guys have been more successful in football lately more than basketball. So, like I said, Tech fans would be surprised to find out, or general college football fans would be surprised to find out that Temple is the favorite. Mm-hmm. Do Temple fans expect to be beating the Georgia Techs and the Marylands, or are they giddy when they win those games, or are they fully expecting to win the game on Saturday?
It's funny. It's a fickle fan base. I mean, I think they're into football. I think in big time college football towns, I think the fans turn out regardless. I mean, again, Temple's in a pro sports city, and sometimes their fan base emulates like a pro sports fan base where they're up and down and up and down. And, if they can get 31, 32,000 people at the game Saturday, that's a really good crowd up here. But I'm sure the fan base is upset because they got, I think, 7 votes in each poll after they beat Maryland. So they were on the verge of cracking the top 25, and then they went to Buffalo and just really played terribly. But by the time they started getting back into the game, it was too late. So part of the fan base is thinking, okay, it figures just as Temple's about to get ranked, they lose a game that they should win. But I think there's going to be a lot of interest in this game. But yeah, I think there are people in the fan base who do expect the team to win games like this. 2015, Temple opened its season at Lincoln Financial Field. They beat Penn State 27-10. They sacked Christian Hackenberg 11 times. And there were a lot of NFL players on that roster. Later on that season, they started off 7-0. I don't know if you guys remember this, college football game day, ESPN game days in town in Philly, which I never, ever would have thought would have happened at some point. Again, this is a program that almost got dropped. They're playing Notre Dame on ABC, and National College Football Game of the Night. Again, that just doesn't happen too much up here. It's a pro sports town. So they've gotten a taste of big-time football. So they beat Maryland this year. They beat Maryland. They beat Maryland last year. They've beaten Penn State before. I mean, it was the first time in a long time. And they've been competitive with Power 5 teams. They really should have beaten Notre Dame back in 2015. They were winning. Deshaun Kaiser leads them on a late drive, throws a touchdown pass to Will Fuller, safety cuts the wrong way. Otherwise, they win that game. So they're able to compete. Again, they're not out recruiting Nick Saban all the time. That's rare. They still have to get the 3-star guys and develop them and coach them up. But they've had a record of getting guys into the NFL. So I think Temple's fan base, for the most part, knows that Temple should win this game. But, they're like any fan base. They can be a little crazy. I'm sure they're worried about what Jeff Collins knows and the tendencies. And, again, you've got the head coach and both coordinators and a couple of position coaches down there, Larry Knight, Nate Burton, guys that know this roster pretty well. So that'll be an advantage. But, again, if it comes down to talent, Temple should win. I think it'll be a close game. I don't know if they win by 10, but we'll see.
Hey Don, were you just shocked immediately, like when you first heard that Temple was the favorite? Were you shocked?
Not really. Both teams are really going through a transition. Temple has a first-year coach, and we have a first-year coach. But right now, we play in the ACC, so just keep it 100. But it's kind of embarrassing when we lost to the Citadel. I'm just gonna keep it 100. I'm not trying to troll anything like that, but like they're just that's facts. We lost
that's
to the
real.
Citadel.
That's
should have
real.
been a team we should have won against. Like I said,
can't lose at home to the Citadel. You should never be playing at the Citadel, so you shouldn't be losing at the Citadel because you never be playing there. But no, you can't lose to the Citadel. You can't.
And here's my thing. My expectations was already low for this Tech squad this year, and I said like if we can win 5 or 6 games, we'll be straight. All right, 5 or 6 games, we cool.
Yeah, I mean, if they go to a bowl, I think that's a success. 6 wins, go to a bowl. I think that the coaching staff would be, of course, they're not going to be jumping up and down about 6 wins, but I think inside, it's quietly they'd be like, okay, not too bad.
Exactly. So go to the chat real quick.
Yep. We got Jonathan Foskey and that Georgia boy joining us. Our probably 2 most loyal guys. We know what Trey will do. Trey gonna join right at the end. Thanks for joining us, guys. One thing that a player that Georgia Tech or we need to be concerned about, if you don't know, Isaiah Wright, and it's not the same Isaiah Wright from Last Chance U. If people getting that confused, it's not the same Isaiah Wright. The thing that I was shocked about, because I did know about Isaiah Wright, I knew about his return game. What I didn't know until I started preparing the notes for this show, I didn't know he was 6'2", 220. That dude returns punts like a little scat bag. That dude, is he that big for real?
I think he's a legit 6'2". Yeah, he's very quick. That's actually the one area where he so far has been held in check. I mean, I wouldn't expect anybody to really notice, especially down there. First week of the season, they played Bucknell. Bucknell's a bad FCS team. Temple beat the crap out of them. It was an easy game. But Bucknell has a guy who's an NFL caliber punter who probably, if he's not drafted, he's going to end up on somebody's roster. So he was able to really kick the ball downfield. Isaiah really wasn't able to get too many returns. He had a 51-yard kickoff return last week at Buffalo, but teams have done a good job of either kind of getting the ball up there long enough to where he can't set up a return, or they haven't so much been kicking it away from him. Actually, the Maryland game, he fair caught a lot of punts, so they kept him in check there. But he's dangerous. I mean, I think he has 5 career returns. It's been great in the return game. But now Temple, I think this staff is doing a better job of utilizing him as a receiver. One of the things that was kind of puzzling, especially last year, was Dave Patnode, who's now Georgia Tech's offensive coordinator, not really using him or utilizing him as much in the offense. So through 3 games last season, he was targeted 21 times, had 7 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown. Through 3 games this season, he's been targeted 32 times, has 20 catches, 168 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So he's already, I think last year alone, he was targeted 66 times and had 33 catches. So he's almost halfway to that mark through 3 games. So that was a point of frustration for fans last year. You have a guy who, if he stays on track, I don't know where he'll be drafted. I think he'll probably be drafted somewhere because he has NFL cutback ability, speed, good football IQ and awareness, and they just weren't really throwing the ball in his direction that much last year. This staff, Mike Uramovich, who's Rod Carey's offensive coordinator, had just said, I'd be a fool not to get him the ball at least 10 or 12 times a game or throw his way 10 or 12 times a game. So he's been really effective as a receiver. We'll see if he can break off a return Saturday, whether it's a kickoff or a punt return. But again, the staff's well aware of him. We'll see if they kick away from him or if they're confident in kicking the ball to him. But he's always a threat to take one back. He has that type of ability, but he's been really effective as a receiver too.
Well, one thing that I know about Tech, Tech actually has a really dynamic punter as well, and he specializes at the sky punt. So I'm pretty sure we'll see plenty of that on Saturday. Yeah, Percy Harvin is his name, and he's like one of the biggest kids on the team as well. And I've stood next to him a couple times. If you guys don't know, just pull up a picture of Tech's punter and just know he's down about 20 pounds from last year. Yeah. And he's still huge. So if you never Google Percy Harvin, not that one, Percy Harvin, Georgia Tech's punter, this dude is huge. The first time I ever stood next to him, I'm like, You not the nose guard? Like you punt?
But the thing about a lot of people don't know about Tech always produce a lot of special teams players for the NFL. So
Sure.
I was laughing because when I made the joke earlier about Trey joined right as we were losing. He's another one of our loyal listeners. He joined right as I made that comment. That's why I was laughing a little bit.
Read Jonathan
but
things off there.
Jonathan said, I got one Georgia Tech fan in my family. He married in, obviously. We're dogs around here. He hoped Georgia Tech could get into a bowl this year.
I hope so.
I mean, I thought the Tech could win 6 wins coming into but losing to Citadel, I mean, you needed that to get to 6. So, Jonathan, I don't know. I mean, I have to go, but once you lose to Citadel, all bets are off now because we're about to get to the predictions now. I guess I'll go ahead and jump the gun. I think Temple's gonna win this one 26-19. Yeah, I think Temple is it's interesting. Yeah, Temple upset that they lost to Buffalo, and you have Georgia Tech upset
that they lost to Citadel.
But flat out, Temple's just a better team. I'm sorry, like you said, they're just a better team. Offensively, they have better talent. They haven't been performing as such, but they just have better talent offensively, and I think Tech will lose the game. So I'm not sure Tech gonna get to a bowl. What do you think, Don?
Hey, I'm not finna count them out yet. I'll wait till the middle of next month. If we keep losing, then I'm just gonna say we ain't doing that.
Wait. Before we pass, Don, I gotta ask you: have you ever heard of a 6'2", 220 punt returner? Well, Tim Brown, I guess. But man, being compared to Tim Brown, boy, man, I can't think of another. Can you think of somebody else that size, Don, that return punts?
I can't. And Julio's not even.
Pat Peterson,
Pat. Julio's like 215.
Yeah, Pat Peterson, I guess. Yeah, Pat Pete, I guess. Somebody just told me that he's that big.
Julio Jones isn't 220 pounds.
So he's like 215, I believe. He might be 220.
He looked like it. He looked like it for the Eagles.
Yeah. You're an Eagles fan, John?
Yeah, I mean, I've grown up in the area. I covered them for a little while when I first got out of college. So, I mean, the Eagles had that game won, and then Matt Ryan calls the audible, and game over after that. And he reminded people why he's one of the top 5 receivers in the league. So he looked like he was 220.
And what's your thoughts about Matt Ryan? Because Matt Ryan's from the Philly area. Like, what's your thoughts of Matt Ryan?
I think he's a great quarterback. I'm a little biased. Again, he's from Exton, which is a suburb of Philadelphia. It's pretty much where I grew up.
Okay.
So he could have gone to a really good high school in that area. He went to Penn Charter. So I went to a charter school around here, but I don't know. I'd be curious to hear what you guys think about. I don't know if he's like underappreciated down there or if people scrutinize him. Or, I mean, I think he's a heck of a quarterback, but because he hasn't, I don't know. I think he's a heck of a quarterback, but I don't know. Again, every fan base is always hard on their quarterbacks, so I don't know what the vibe is down there in Atlanta.
Let me say. All right, I'm gonna give you 2 things. Yeah, to answer your question. Yes, our fan base are wishy-washy against him because of he haven't won a ring. They expect Matt Ryan to do everything. And I tell people, football is a team sport.
Right.
Matt Ryan can't play defense. Matt Ryan can't do special teams. Matt Ryan can't coach a doggone team. Like, it's a team sport. Like, Matt Ryan, the team really has failed him as far as getting him a good defense, as far as getting him a good run game, special teams, and great coaching. Like, all that, just like the situation out there in Los Angeles with Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is a great quarterback, but, he hasn't had the talent around him. People say, he got whipped, he got Julio. Yes, it's offense, but you got to keep the other team from scoring. Just like how y'all won y'all Super Bowl a couple of seasons ago, y'all had a well-rounded team. Y'all had a good defense that forced turnovers.
It's the only way they were able to win it. I mean, everybody in Philadelphia thought the season was over when Carson Wentz got hurt. Yeah. Nick Foles did not play well in the regular season finale. I mean, it didn't mean much. They played the Raiders, but I mean, Philly had not won a Super Bowl. And that was, I mean, that changed everything in the city. They finally got a Super Bowl. Didn't happen the way Philadelphia thought it was going to happen, but I agree with you with Matt Ryan. I mean, if he never wins a Super Bowl, he'll be compared to someone like Dan Marino, yeah. Maybe someone like Donovan McNabb. Donovan McNabb got scrutinized
Jim Kelly.
Got to a Super Bowl, never won it. Even going as far back as Randall Cunningham. I mean, he was a dynamic quarterback. They had a great defense back in the 80s, but Buddy Ryan never surrounded him with like great receivers or great running backs. So, I mean, I think Ryan's a hell of a quarterback. I think if people say he's not a hell of a quarterback, I don't know what they're looking at. But like you said, I agree with you. Everything has to kind of come together for them to win a Super Bowl. So he's knocked on the door of it, but just hasn't been able to get it done. But again, as you said, it's a team sport.
All right, another thing. Would you trade? And a lot of people always talk about trade Matt Ryan. So let's put it like this here: would you trade Matt Ryan for Carson Wentz? Would you do that?
Would I do that? I would not do that now, just because of the age factor. Yeah. And I think Carson's got a lot of great football ahead of him. But
not looking at the age. But not looking at the age factor, because if you look at it, Matt Ryan, knock on wood, has never been injured like that. He's always stayed healthy. And quarterbacks now, like you look at Drew Brees and Tom Brady, right? Like they playing well in their 40s now. And Matt Ryan's only 34, 35, so 34. He can play a good 7 to 8 more years if he wanted to.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, I'd still stay with Wentz just because of his potential to make some plays outside the pocket. Not that Ryan can't do that, but I mean, obviously Matt Ryan's body of work, there's more there. Carson's still got to prove himself a little bit. He's in a weird position where he helped get them to the doorstep of a high seed in the playoffs, and then Nick Foles finished it off. Yeah. And so when he was around as the backup last year, Carson got hurt again. Carson still has to prove he can stay healthy, and he's got to prove that he can win a Super Bowl. Again, that's no easy task, but I'd give the edge to Carson. But obviously Matt Ryan has the longer tenure body of work.
Yeah, I'm gonna end it like this. I really think y'all should never got rid of Nick Foles. That's just my opinion. I just hope Wentz can stay healthy.
This is gonna sound crazy to some people, but I think some people in Philadelphia think this way. Nick Foles is a heck of a quarterback. He won a Super Bowl, but I mean, what happened to him? It's a freak thing down in Jacksonville. He goes down there, gets hurt already, but Nick. I don't know what would have happened if he did that over the course of an entire season. He's the guy that won the Super Bowl, but I think Carson has more raw ability. But I mean, I don't think they could have held on to him. You can't keep two quarterbacks like that on the roster. Nick, you would have had to pay both of them, extend some guys and stuff like that. So they had to move on from one of them. I don't think you're going to move on from the guy that you drafted number 2 overall.
Yeah. I just, we're gonna get back on to college because it's a college show. But I just think if I'm Carson Wentz, I know it gotta be eating me up every day. Every time I ride around Lincoln Financial Field and I see that statue of Nick Foles and Doug Peterson outside the stadium, like that has to eat me up. And like, yeah, you have a ring. Yes, you was on the team. You was injured. But as the franchise quarterback, and you won a Super Bowl, you're not even like you don't even have a statue. That
you guys sure you haven't been listening to Philly Sports Talk Radio up here sometimes?
No, I don't. No. Look, man. Look. We've been busy.
They talk about.
We've been busy winning NL East championships, man.
Well, I will say this because I think he's watching right now. My assistant editor, the guy named Kyle Gauss, does a great job for us. He lived in Georgia when he was younger. He's an Eagles fan, but I think he lived, and I should know this by now, he lived either in Athens or somewhere outside of Athens. So he's a big Braves fan. So he just harasses everybody up here and reminds everybody that listens to our podcast that the Braves are very well positioned to dominate the NL East for, I don't know, maybe the next 10 years because of their farm system, and they have one of the best young players in the game. So we got one Braves fan on our staff.
Hey, and tell him to come holler at his hometown sports podcast. Tell him to subscribe to the channel.
I will. I'll tell him.
All right.
We'll give our predictions for the game real quick. Numero Uno joined us in the chat. Thanks for Numero Uno. He says he has Temple winning the game 35-20, and Temple's going to block an extra point. That's a random thing to say. Number, you have some insight there, or you just Nostradamus and see that happening. And Jonathan Foskey said Julio said he was 227 coming into the Hall of Fame game.
Oh, okay.
And he also said very underappreciated, talking about Matt. Very underappreciated here. Yeah. John, you have no idea.
That Georgia boy pretty much talking about the punter and talking about that's a D tackle. That ain't no punter.
Oh, you did see him? Okay. Yeah, so he saw he Googled him. Yeah, he is. He like a D tackle. Jonathan Foskey said, I don't know about 8, Don. That might be much. I forgot what he was referencing there. 8 wins for Tech? Is that what you?
Oh, I never said 8 wins.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what 6. You. Trey said, I have a question. Why does Georgia Tech not get more support than UGA gets? Is it because UGA is in the SEC? It's that UGA is football crazy, Trey, and they over the years have promoted and done more to. They've spent more on football, I'll say, than Tech has, and they just have a bigger alumni and following in the city. Tech has a huge alumni, but many of Tech alumni go and spread out across the country. Not saying the UGA alumni don't, but UGA has more alumni here in Metro Atlanta, and just the more.
You guys, and I don't know how old you guys in the chat, but back in the 90s, Tech was the school. Tech was the school in the state. I don't care what anybody say. Like Tech ruled Georgia, the state of Georgia. All right. I guess when George O'Leary left Tech, pretty much everything started going downhill. All right, that was like in the early 2000s, and then Mark Richt
for him too.
Mark Richt came into Athens and changed the culture. UGA pretty much was knocking on the door to get into the national championship some seasons under Mark Richt, and it all depends. Tech gets love. Tech gets love. It just, the thing is, it all depends on what side of the fence you stand on. Like we know basketball, Tech has that. Football, UGA been having that sold up in the state for the past 15 years, 16 years now. So and you had some Tech beating UGA a couple of times here and there, but it's all about bragging rights. When that good old fashioned hate game come around Thanksgiving break, hey, whichever team wins, they got bragging rights for the whole year.
All right, so we'll run through the rest of the comments and then we'll wrap up with the predictions. That Georgia boy said he doesn't even talk football on Twitter no more. It's pointless. For real. I just scroll now like, yeah, I don't have time.
I ain't got time for idiots.
GT Bowhunter 90 joined us. Thanks, GT Bowhunter. He said, at Trey, simple. They win a bunch of games, they have a bigger audience, and they draw big-time players. My Jackals will get back there, though. Yeah, I mean, he has a point there, Trey.
Bowhunter
Jonathan
90, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel, please. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And Jonathan said the 8 was in reference that you said Matt might play 8 more years. That's what he was talking about.
Look, Matt Ryan could play 8 more years.
Yeah, that Georgia boy said he'll give him 5 or 6.
We gonna see. We gonna see. I'm telling y'all, Matt Ryan. If we building this offensive line to protect Matt Ryan, this man can play well in his 40s. Look at Drew Brees. Drew Brees is pretty much playing in his 40s. Like but Phillip Rivers, I think he's almost 40 something. Like these quarterbacks now, and the rules, how the rules change now, these quarterbacks can play to like they 43, 44, no problem. All right, but go ahead.
Yeah. GT Bowhunter said, yep, minus a few mid-90s years, Tech was a powerhouse. And that Georgia boy says Tech will lose 28-17. Don, what's your prediction? And we'll let John finish it off. What you think, Don, is going to happen Saturday?
I think Temple's going to win. I think this game going to go, to be honest with you, I think this game going to go to overtime. And y'all going to end up, serious. Y'all gonna end up winning the game. I say 28-24.
All right, so prop bets if you're into it. There's going to be a blocked extra point and overtime. So if you're into prop bets, make sure you shoot FILA Sports some money because you got those here. So what you think is going to?
I think I'll stick with the prediction I had on our podcast. I think very literally a point off of yours. I have Temple winning 27-20. I think it'll be closer. You know, if Temple plays the way they should, they could win this game by a couple of touchdowns. But I just think the factor of Jeff and his staff being familiar with this team, I think he'll get that defense to play hard. But if Temple plays the way it's capable of on defense, they could force a couple of turnovers. They need to. But I'll stick with 27-20. I think there'll be a little extra motivation, obviously, on both sides. But Temple should win this game.
Okay.
And GT Bowhunter wanted to throw his prediction in. He thinks Tex wins the game going away 27-14. He thinks Tobias Oliver and Jordan Mason control the clock with a brutal ground game. If you guys don't know, Jordan Mason is the tailback and Tobias Oliver is the quarterback. I'm sorry. One thing I did want to ask you about. I noticed on you guys' roster you had a player from Sweden. What's up with that?
Two players from Sweden. They're starting. Yeah, so Victor Stoffel, I think, is the guy that you're talking about, true freshman.
Okay.
And then Isaac Moore, their starting left tackle, is from Sweden. So, I mean, Jeff recruited him. There's a guy up here.
Sweden pipeline, huh?
Well, there's a guy named Brandon Collier who is a former NFL player. He has something going where he's gotten some of these guys to come over to the States. So, I mean, Isaac Moore did not play. He didn't play well last week, but he's. I mean, they think he's. I mean, every coach thinks that a lot of their players are future pros, but he's good. I mean, he's starting to play better. So the one guy again, Moore is their starting left tackle. Victor is a guy who they're hoping to bring along as a future tackle. I think he's like 6'8". So, they have a couple guys. A third guy that actually had on the roster but just left. So, yeah, I mean, programs are getting kids from Germany now. They're getting them from Sweden. They're getting them from Canada. So, any way that the programs can find an edge. Again, not everybody's going to be able to recruit like Alabama, like Georgia. You know, if you're Temple, you're not getting DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift's leaving Philly and going down to Georgia. So, Yep. So
Mark Webb, his cousin.
Yeah. So they got two guys from Sweden on the roster.
That's what's up. that was I was flipping through the roster and I saw that and my eyes were like, what? Yeah. All right, so you guys, Georgia Tech and Temple, Saturday 3:30, and Temple. The game is on CBS Sports South, I believe, or Fox Sports South, I believe. 3:30 kickoff. Tune in. Both teams coming off very, very disappointing losses. Lots of intersecting storylines in this game with the coach coming from there. So it should be very interesting. 3:30 on Saturday. Everybody tune in. Final thoughts, Don? You got anything to add?
Nothing right now. I'll plug everything before we head out. But go ahead, GT Bowhunter. He said, "Don't forget that Temple lost to a terrible Buffalo team last week." And then he also
he had to throw that in there last week. That, he wants to end it with that.
He also said that he subbed. Appreciate you, man. We really appreciate when y'all subscribe to the channel. That means a lot to us. That means we're growing. So,
man, I'm really showing my age because I was like, "What does subbed mean?" Subscribed. Okay, I'm with the lingo. All right. One more time, John. Let them know who you are, where they can check you out at, where they can read your stuff.
Check us out at owlscoop.com. Again, we're the site in the Rivals and Yahoo Sports Network. It covers Temple football, Temple basketball. You can follow me on Twitter at JDiCarlo, JDICARLO, and at owlscoop. So it's OWLSCOOP_com. So again, cover Temple football and basketball, and appreciate you guys having me on. It's been fun.
All right. Thank you. Anything else you want to plug? Million subscribers.
Check out. We got a podcast too. We have a podcast called The Scoop. You can find us on iTunes. We have a weekly podcast where talk football, talk basketball, of course, talk recruiting. Everybody wants to know about recruiting. So we got the podcast going, and then check out our game coverage Saturday. We'll be down at Lincoln Financial Field. We'll have a few reporters there. And again, should be fun, should be interesting. See Jeff Collins and that staff again.
Cool. All right. Thanks everybody for joining once again. Don, check out Don tomorrow. Don's doing a Falcons preview for the game on Thursday. So everybody, y'all should make sure y'all check out Don's preview show tomorrow.
So tomorrow. Yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Do your thing, John.
I guess see, that's the thing about our brand now. People are coming to us now and wanting to come on our show to talk about their predictions of Falcons games, or Braves games, or even college games. And we don't turn away from debates. We don't turn away from sports arguments. So I want all the smoke. Exactly. So M Brand, she's gonna come on tomorrow. She's an avid Tennessee fan, and she also a sports journalist. So she's gonna
Tennessee Titans.
Tennessee, not Tennessee Volunteers. We're gonna talk about that.
You see it,
in a couple of weeks. But she's gonna come on to talk about the Tennessee Titans versus Atlanta Falcons game. That show will be live tomorrow at 9:00. So just come back and watch that tomorrow with me. Well, come in and just come live with us in the live chat and talk about the game on Sunday. If you're new to the channel, you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this content out with other Atlanta sports fanatics and Georgia's college fanatics, and hit that like button, blow it up, and also hit us up in the comment section. Everybody in the chat, appreciate y'all joining us tonight. Come back in tomorrow. Tell everybody else who Falcons fans. I know everybody want to hear about the Falcons. It's a down week because we lost against Indianapolis. Everybody don't understand that these past 3 games we played against playoff teams. So hey, it is what it is. But just come holler at us tomorrow in the chat so I can hear y'all predictions and comments and all that. Thank you, John, for coming on to the show. We really appreciate it.
No problem, guys. I appreciate it. It's been fun.
All right. Thank you. And as always,
come holla.
It's a Hometown Sports Podcast. Coach just said that we have a para partner now. We're going to reveal that Sunday. We have a sponsor now. We have a sponsor that's sponsoring our show. We'll let the cat out the bag on Sunday. And also on Sunday's show, we're going to be RIP.
Call a tease, Don.
Huh?
That's what they call a tease in the business. I just teased it.
Yeah, we teased it. All right. On Sunday's show, I'll go ahead and let y'all know what's going on Sunday's show. Sunday's show, RIP. RIP to our Atlanta Thrashers. The Thrashers been out of the city for quite some time now. I miss hockey. Yes, I was an Atlanta Thrasher fan. But we're going to reminisce on the Atlanta Thrashers on Sunday's show. So join us for that as well. So y'all be safe out there. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a good evening.
Yep.
Tell them boys play time's up. Tell them